Mechanical calibration. Let's talk about mechanical calibration. So what mechanical calibration does is it lets the actuator know what the current mechanical setting of the pump is. So that's defined by the scale on the pump side, the stroke adjustment mechanism setting, and electrically it lets the actuator know what that setting is. So we access that through the standard user interface. It's the third mode button press, so we press that 1, 2, 3 times. And the first thing the actuator does is it adjusts to a 50% position. So it finds what it thinks 50% should be in accordance with its measurement system. And so it really doesn't know anything about the pump yet, and it's saying, okay, well, I think this is about where the center is. So that's kind of important because when we couple the two together, they both kind of need to know where they are. So at this point, the actuator has found its 50% position, indicated by these two solid red lights here. But you can see over here on the pump side, it's kind of 50. It's pretty close because I've calibrated it once before, so it's not off very much. So at this point, if the actuator wasn't attached to the pump, if they were completely decoupled, I'd turn the power off to the actuator because I'd know that it's at 50%. And I'd set the pump at 50% in accordance with the scale. And then I'd bolt the two together. So now the actuator thinks it's at 50% and the pump is at 50%, and they're pretty close, but they're not really calibrated yet. So that's a process we're going to use next. So once they're coupled together like they are, and the actuator is at what it thinks 50% is, and the pump is at what it thinks 50% is, now I'm going to proceed with mechanical calibration. So I press the little flashing light mode indication, and the first thing it's going to go do is it's going to go reduce the value. That little decrease LED is on, and it's going to start to run the output. You need to be careful because the pump is being adjusted during this process, so you need to take care to make sure that the output of the pump is safe and redirected. Now it's going to take me to an approximate 0 point. Actually, it's about 10% above 0, and it's going to allow me to adjust that to an actual 0% reading. So it's reading almost exactly 10% right now. To increase or decrease, we use the increase button or the decrease button. So in this case, based on where I am, I'm at about, well, actually I'm right on 0 because I've used a prior calibration, but I can show you just some movement. So I'll go over here and I'll increase the value. So every time I press the button, you can hear the movement. Okay, so I can move it up or I can move it down. Now when we move it down, we overshoot, and then we come back on the position. This is to take out any backlash. So in this case, I'm reading right around 9 3/4. So I need to decrease to get myself back to the 0 position, and I'm going to just creep up on that 0 position with just some small button presses here until I'm happy with my setting. So I'm happy with that. My 0 is right on 0 and my mark is right on 0. So now I'm going to move to the next mode. So I'm going to move to the high point. So I'm going to press the mode button again under the flashing LED. And now what we're going to do is we're going to make a slow movement for about a turn and a half of the knob. And we're just going to monitor the feedback mechanism and make sure that everything is working okay and aligned properly. And then once we get past that point, we're going to move on up to the 100% point. So just kind of need to wait for that to finish. Alright, we're done with that controlled movement. Now we're going to make a fast move up to the 100% position. You see that our indicator light says we're going up. And we can see the knob turning. We're going to stop a little short. We should stop around 90%. And we're going to deaccelerate, come up on the point. So I'm about 10% short right now. So I'm going to use the increase button to increase the value. So I can see my movements as I press the button. You see the LED comes on with my button press. A little feedback there. So I like to creep up on it. I can come up to full speed, but quite often if I do that I'll overshoot. So make a lot of small steps here. And here we come. And we're getting close. And we're going to call it right there. So I've got my 100% position set with my associated 0 on the knob scale. And so now this guy's just waiting for me to say, okay, I'm done. I'll press him one more time. We get 3 red LEDs, which indicates that we're saving the value away, and we're done. That's the end of mechanical calibration. You'll notice one thing, the 3 blue LEDs came on. After mechanical calibration, we do reset the processor board, so we start over. And all our values are saved away, and now we're ready to roll.